Jesus Christ, a man who walked into the temple and physically, violently flipped over the tables of the money changers, a man who spoke with such authority that his enemies tried to kill him on multiple occasions, a man who willingly walked towards the most brutal execution that the Romans could devise, has been turned into a soft, gentle, perpetually smiling hippie who just wants to give you a hug.
Welcome to the Strong Dad Show with your host, Adam Lloyd. Together, we are stronger.
Guys, welcome back to the Strong Dad Show. I'm your host, Adam Lloyd, and today, as usual, I want us to get a little bit uncomfortable. I want to ask you about a place that you probably haven't thought much about lately, or if you have, it's with a sense of frustration or boredom. I'm talking about church, the synagogue, the mosque, whatever your family tradition or religion is or was. When was the last time you were actually there? Not just for a wedding or a funeral. And if you're one of the millions of men who have stopped going, I want you to ask yourself a really honest question. Why? Why have you disconnected from your religion, from your faith, from your tradition? And I don't ask this from a place of judgment because I've done exactly the same, which is why I want to bring it up on today's podcast. And as well as asking that question, why, I want you to go deeper. I want you to go deeper than the surface level answer. Did you really lose your faith in God, in the infinite, in something bigger than yourself? Or did you lose your faith in the institution? Did you walk away because you stopped believing in the message, or did you walk away because the place that was supposed to be a source of strength, conviction, and purpose felt weak, or not aligned to what you would have expected it to be? Because there is a mass exodus of men from organized religion, and nobody is talking about it honestly. The institutions themselves are blaming it on secular culture, on science, on the internet, on people being too busy. But I've been reflecting on this, and I believe there's a deeper, more fundamental reason. Men aren't walking away from God, they're walking away from weak churches and institutions. They're walking away from soft, feminized institutions that no longer speak the language of masculinity and, in fact, seem to be actively hostile to it. So today we're going there. And I said it was going to be uncomfortable, and it is. We're going to diagnose why so many modern spiritual spaces feel completely alien to the masculine soul. And then we are going to talk about how a strong dad forges a faith of his own, one of action, conviction, and power. And if you want more on this before you even dive into this episode, just look at the videos by Pastor Joby Martin, okay? You'll understand exactly where I'm going. We're talking about how to find or build a spiritual practice that calls men up to a higher standard, not just calms them down and waters down this sense of masculinity. So let's hold our feet to the fire here. What is the actual sales pitch of the average modern mainstream church in 2026? It's a pitch built almost entirely on comfort and therapy, making you feel good about yourself. Think about the signs that you see outside churches. A welcome place for everyone. Come as you are. The message is, are you stressed? Come and be soothed. Are you feeling anxious? Come and find peace. Are you feeling judged by the world? Come to a place where everyone is affirmed and nothing is demanded. And when you put these together and think about it, it's a message designed for a customer, not a convert. It's like a spiritual spa day. You go in and what do you find? The music is a 40-minute rock concert with vague, emotionally charged lyrics that could be about Jesus or it could be about your girlfriend. The sermons these days sounds less like a proclamation of truth and more like a self-help TED Talk filled with therapeutic language about your journey and finding your truth. Usually the coffee's great anyway, but the seats are uncomfortable and the men, if there are any men there at all, are either bored out of their minds or they're the kind of soft-handed guys who have never had a callus in their life. Now, why is this happening then? Because these institutions have fundamentally misunderstood what the masculine soul craves. The masculine soul does not, at its core, crave comfort. It craves a mission. It craves a challenge. It craves a clear standard of right and wrong. a hill to die on, if you want to be that dramatic. It craves a call to sacrifice for something bigger than itself. That's why men always feel called to war, to a sense of duty. The masculine soul craves a brotherhood forged in a shared difficult purpose, which is what we're establishing through Strong Dads. But what it gets instead is a feminized spirituality. A spirituality that values niceness over goodness. And Matthew McConaughey did an interview, and it was a very good line he said about he basically defined the difference between a nice man and a good man, and there's a big difference. What that masculine soul is demanding is something other than this feminist spirituality, because the feminist spirituality is a spirituality that values feelings over objective strength. It's a faith that has been nurtured, and a nurtured faith has absolutely nothing to say to a man who is trying to navigate a chaotic, dangerous, and competitive world. We are told to be good men, but what they mean is to be a nice boy. Be agreeable, be passive, don't make waves, don't be too assertive, suppress your natural aggression, your drive, your ambition, your desire to build and to conquer. So is it any wonder that men feel like they have to check their balls at the door before they walk into the church? Even the central figures of these faiths have been neutered. Jesus Christ, a man who walked into the temple and physically, violently flipped over the tables of the money changers, a man who spoke with such authority that his enemies tried to kill him on multiple occasions, a man who willingly walked towards the most brutal execution that the Romans could devise, has been turned into a soft, gentle, perpetually smiling hippie who just wants to give you a hug. He's become Buddy Jesus. King David, the warrior poet who killed a giant and built an empire, is just a guy who was sad sometimes. Muhammad, a warrior and a state builder who created a global civilization, is just a nice man who taught peace. It's a historical and spiritual lie. You can see the difference between what these men actually did, but what the stories about them say. These were hard men for hard times, and men are desperate for models of hard men. So what we do is we leave. We walk away feeling spiritually homeless. We still feel that innate human yearning for transcendence, for purpose, for a connection to something bigger, but we can't find it in the places that are supposed to be selling it. So what do? Do we just give up? Do we become cynical? Do we become bitter atheists who mock anyone who believes in anything? Do we drift into a vague, new agey, I'm spiritual but not religious, nothingness? No, that is the weak move. That is the lazy move. A strong dad doesn't abandon the search for truth just because the tour guides are uninspiring. He becomes his own explorer. He takes ownership of his own spiritual life. He forges his own faith on his own terms. And here's what that looks like. This is almost the Strong Dad spiritual framework. First, a strong dad's faith is active, not passive. It's not something you consume for an hour on a Sunday morning. It is the operating system that runs your entire life 7 days a week. It's the why behind your what. Why do you get up at 5 a.m. to train when it's cold and dark? It's an act of worship, stewarding the physical body that you've been given. Why do you refuse to cut corners at work even when you could get away with it? Because you serve a higher authority than your boss or your clients. Why do you lead your family with patient, quiet strength, even when you're tired and frustrated? Because you're attempting to model a divine standard of leadership and sacrifice. Your faith isn't in a building, brother. It's in your actions. It's written in the code of your character. It's defined by the person that you want to be. And that is the best thing about faith. And again, you look at Christianity, for example. It's not about being able to throw loads of fancy words about and make some poetic prayer. It's about following the teachings that make you a better man. What your thoughts are on God or heaven or any of it at all, if you follow the word of Jesus, you become a better man. It's as simple as that. Second, a strong dad seeks challenge, not comfort. He actively seeks out the hard parts of his traditional religion. He reads the books and the texts that are demanding, not just the ones that are affirming of the person that he wants to be and makes himself feel warm and comfortable. He wrestles with the difficult passages, the ones that call him out to be better, stronger, more disciplined, more courageous. He understands that spiritual growth works exactly like physical growth. It only happens under resistance. The exact same. When you're building strength or when you're building your faith, it only happens under resistance. A gem cannot be polished without friction, brother, nor can a man be perfected without trial. And what the strong dad seeks, again, is a faith that doesn't demand anything of you that is worth nothing. Okay? A strong dad's faith is not a hobby. It's a discipline. It's a way of life. And then third, a strong dad builds. He doesn't just complain. So if your local church or spiritual community is weak, you have two choices. You can sit in the back row rolling your eyes or complaining about it to your wife on the way home, or you can do something about it. And a strong dad builds. He finds the one or two other men in that room who feel the same, and the ones with the fire in their eyes, and he starts something. He says, a few of us are going to meet in my garage on a Tuesday night to discuss a challenging book. Or we're going to do a Saturday morning workout in the park, and then we're going to read a chapter of a sacred text and talk about how we can apply it to our lives as fathers. He creates the space that he wishes existed. He understands that the church is not the building. It is the gathering of believers on a mission. So he gathers and he gets on with the mission. He starts a movement, even if it's just with two other guys, a movement of men who are dedicated to becoming stronger in body, mind, and spirit. He builds a tribe that calls men up to a higher standard. And this is the path forward. If you are... Well, in fact, it's about you taking radical ownership, okay, of your own spiritual life. It's about refusing to settle for a weak, watered down, comfortable faith that has no power to change you, to change your family, or to change the world around you. So go and find the old paths. In every tradition, in every religion, they are there. The paths that demanded courage, that demanded discipline, sacrifice, and brotherhood. The paths that forged warriors, saints, and leaders. The truth and the power are still there. They're buried under layers of modern therapeutic bull crap, but they're just waiting for men who are strong enough to dig out for them. Because your family doesn't need a man who is vaguely spiritual. They need a man who is grounded in timeless truth, a man with a deep well of conviction, a man who can explain what the beliefs are that he has, why he believes, why he has those beliefs and what they are and how they apply to his family's life. A man who can be a moral and spiritual anchor in a world that has lost its compass completely. So thanks for tuning in. If you accept it, your mission this week is to engage with this. If you're a man of faith, your mission is to find one part of your tradition that is challenging, not comforting. Maybe it's a story of a warrior, a demanding piece of scripture, a call to discipline, and spend 15 minutes this week wrestling with it. If you are a man who has walked away, your mission is to get clear on what you were truly looking for, what was missing, what kind of challenge, what kind of mission, what kind of brotherhood did you need that you didn't find? Get specific, write it down. And as always, if you know a good man who is spiritually adrift, who is looking for something, send him this episode. It's a conversation that we need to be having out in the open. And remember, brother, don't settle for a faith that just calms you down. Find or build one that calls you up to be a better man. Until next time, strength and honor.